mamas, welcome back to my channel. Thanks so much for stopping by. If you're new around these parts, thanks so much for being here. I'm so glad to see you. Tonight's video is going to be one on body positivity, self-love, and body confidence, because up until recently, I really had none of those things. I spent pretty much my whole life hating myself and everything about me. And it's only gotten worse since I've had babies and breastfeeding, getting older, you name it. It got worse. And I found myself being so hateful and judgmental towards myself. It was starting to rub off on other people, and it affected the way that I saw other people. And I would make unfair assumptions and judgments purely based on the way I saw them or how I perceived them in my head, and none of those perceptions were true. It was just what I was conjuring up in my negative, hateful mind. And, you know, it was just such a vicious cycle. And I finally think that I have dug myself out of that terrible, terrible cycle of hating myself, hating everyone around me. I've figured out a way to kind of dig myself out, and I have some really good tips for you guys, and I wanted to share them with you because the way I'm feeling now about myself and the direction that I'm going in life right now, it feels so freeing, and it feels really good. For the first time in my life, I feel really good about myself, and I want to share it with you guys because there's so many people on my Facebook and my Instagram and in real life. I hear everybody speak about themselves the way that I used to think about myself, and I know how bad it sucks, and I feel like I've finally gotten somewhere with it, and I want to help you guys. And I have 5 really good places for you to start in a journey to like loving yourself and just being a whole new person. Because if you knew me in high school or college even, you don't know me anymore, okay? I am totally different. That sounds cliche, but no, I really, really feel like I have this whole new attitude and outlook, and I think I'm a better person for it. So basically, growing up, I was never really modeled body positivity or self-love. Basically, all the people in my life, I would watch them hate themselves. Like, they would say like, oh, you know, I'm overweight, nothing fits me, I'm so gross, I'm so ugly, da 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 da. And even if it wasn't directed towards me, just watching them look in the mirror and hate what they saw, I was like, oh, well, I guess that's how you feel about yourself. So then I was like, well, okay, I guess I should start finding things that I don't like. So that's kind of where it started, was like, oh, well, I'm also overweight. That's kind of ugly. I don't like that. On the self-love part, I was taught that like my best really isn't good enough. I had to live up to someone else's standards, and I'm not saying that you shouldn't have high standards, because you should always, you know, be doing your best and, you know, trying to better yourself. But someone else's high standards are not the same as your high standards. And I did not realize that. I thought that there was only one set of high standards, and if I wasn't meeting them, I was a failure. Turns out my standards are definitely different than some other people, and maybe some people that I grew up with. You know, we're different. We have different standards, and I spent my whole life trying to live up to their standards, and guess what? I felt like a failure. And that helped perpetuate this whole self-hatred and negative view of myself. And even like I couldn't even go to the doctor with that without being shamed for the way I looked. And I'm not an unhealthy person. Okay? Like when you go to the doctor, their job is to tell you you're healthy, you're not healthy, this is what you should be doing to get healthy. I played every sport known to man. I'm not a picky eater. I love vegetables and fruit, and I I was very conscious about what I ate. And I had so many activities and so many things to do. Honestly, I didn't really have time to just sit around and eat. So the fact that I was just on the bigger side was just I'm a bigger person, but I was never sick. Well, never. I'm hardly ever sick. You know, I can do all these things. I'm a strong girl, like, but not once growing up was a doctor ever like, you're healthy, like you're good. I would just be in there for a checkup and they would be like, well, you know you're fat. And I'd be like, okay, so I'm like 10 pounds over what you say I should be. But I can also run 3 miles without being winded. I can lift X amount of weight and I'm hardly ever sick. Like how am I not healthy? I don't, whatever. So I finally found an OB/GYN for the first time in college. I went in and it was new and I was like, oh, here we go. She's gonna tell me how fat I am and I'm gonna try to get over that one. And I went in and I sat down and I was just bracing for the whole weight talk, and she was like, you know, your weight's this and that's okay. And I was like, excuse me, that's okay? Like, what? And she was like, yeah, I mean, I know it's not like your like BMI or whatever, but I can like see you. You're a large framed girl. You're a big person. You're strong. You know, you're just on the bigger side, but that you're healthy. Like you're perfect. Like don't get any bigger, obviously. Like don't put on a ton of weight, but you know, you don't there's nothing to worry about. And I was like, what? Like it was like for the first time somebody told me like I was okay, like I'm healthy. I'm like, wow, okay. Anyway, I want to get into these tips. Number 1, comparison is the thief of joy. And I know you've probably heard that before. You need to stop comparing yourself. I went through my Instagram and I saw everybody that I was following, all these influencers, all these artists and models, whatever. None of them looked like me. They were all teeny tiny little girls. I mean, they were just, and I mean, shaped perfectly, whatever. I mean, I know there's like Photoshop and blah, 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 but like none of them looked like me. And I would just constantly compare and be like, oh, I don't look like that. Like, you know, if I could just lose a bunch of weight, or if I could just get surgery or whatever, like I could look like these people. And I finally realized that's so unhealthy. I mean, it's terrible. So I just kind of revamped all of the things that I was looking at on the daily, and I started following physically similar and like-minded people, you know, people who were maybe bigger, a lot of plus size models, a lot of body positive people, influencers, whatever. People of all different shapes, people of different colors and backgrounds, and like just being more diverse overall. And I would look at these girls who were, I mean, even bigger than me, and I would be like, wow, you know, they're like really gorgeous. And like, I was like, well, I mean, they're bigger than me and they're still gorgeous. Like, they're models. They're making hundreds of thousands of dollars off of being bigger than me. Like, and it's funny because after following all of these new people and just seeing all these like different shapes and sizes, and now when I like flip through a regular magazine of like size 0 models, it looks weird to me because I'm like, this is weird. Like, I don't, and it used to be weird to see like a bigger girl. Like, it would be all skinny models and then like maybe a plus size girl or whatever, and like the bigger girl would be like, oh. But like, I was on Target's website shopping for Cyber Monday, and I was shocked about the diversity on their website. Like, this wasn't Instagram, this was an actual Target website. Even the child models, okay, they were every color, they were every shape. There were big, chubbier kids, there were, really skinny, small kids. Like, the families were all different sizes. The swimsuit girl was probably a 16 or 18, like, and it was just so empowering to me, and it just felt so good, and like, I was like, oh, wow, like, this is amazing. So I think just change what you're experiencing every day. Like, if you're constantly looking at like the Kardashians or whatever, branch out. Look for plus size models, look for different colored people, models, influencers, people with different backgrounds. It's gonna help. Just diversify your feed, and you'll start to definitely feel a little bit better about yourself, because when you're looking at other people and finding them beautiful and they're bigger than you, or they're darker than you, or whatever, shorter than you, it doesn't matter. Like, you're like, wow, I find them beautiful. And okay, so number 2 is to focus on what you love. And again, I know that sounds cliche, but like, really do it. Because I used to step in front of the mirror and be like, okay, well, I have a big belly, I have small hips, I have a large chest, big arms, I have no chin definition, I have a double chin. I would just go on and on, like, the list would go on and on until I went to the one thing that I liked. I'd be like, oh, well, I guess my eyes are pretty. And then that would be it. So I'd have this whole big list of things that I hated before I even got to the one thing that I did actually like. And I stopped doing that. I started to take things that I liked and put them on top. And I would look in the mirror and I would see big eyes. I would see beautiful, thick hair, healthy, glowing skin, strong muscles, full lips. I mean, the girls, hello. Can't not love those. Long, thin legs. I mean, I would just start naming those things off in my head and just appreciating each one of those things that I would think. And then by the time I would get to the end of the things I liked, like, I was just feeling so good, like I didn't even want to talk about like the bad things. So just anytime you look in the mirror, think of those things that you like and focus on them. Think about why you like your eyes. Think about why you like your hair, And then once you go through all those things, I'm telling you, you'll forget about the bad things. Or they won't seem like, you won't forget about them, but they won't seem like the main thing. They'll be way down below on your list. And eventually, honestly, you'll kind of just start forgetting about the things that you don't like or why you don't like them or whatever. Number 3 would be to turn your negatives into positives. For example, I used to hate the fact that I had large arms. I looked like a linebacker, I felt like, because I have broader shoulders and a big chest and big arms. So I was like, oh, I look like a dude. But instead of thinking that way, I have now changed it to I have big arms because I'm strong. Like, I could knock you out. I carry 2 babies, 2 heavy, large children in each arm at the same time, plus a purse, usually. I mean, I can lift probably more than most girls that I know. Like, and that's awesome. That's an amazing trait to have. Like, if I get attacked in a parking lot, like, I'm gonna knock your ass out. Positives. Another example would be that I hated the fact that I am apple shaped. I used to like look at these beautiful like hourglass or pear shaped women with these big like round hips, and I'd be like, oh wow, like I wish that's what I had, you know. But I stopped thinking that way and I changed it around to think, okay, well, I'm a little bit of a different shape, but I have these nice small hips that I can fit into pretty much any jeans, and my legs are so thin and long and they're muscular and they just look amazing. And I'm sure a lot of those pear-shaped girls are looking at me thinking like, oh, I'd kill for her legs. You know what I mean? So it's just changing your mindset. And growing up, I was always the tallest girl and I was bigger. So I would always be jealous of like the short girls, and they were so cute and petite and all the boys liked them, and I wanted to be that small little girl so badly. And now that I'm an adult, if I would have made a wish back then to be a small cute little girl, I would have never ever forgiven myself, because now I love the fact that I am a tall girl. I wear heels like 75% of the time. Oh, there's Daisy. Hey, just hang out. It's cool. It's fine. It's cool. Whatever. If it's not the kids, it's the dogs, I'm telling you. But anyway, I wear heels. I get even taller. Like, I don't care, because I stand out in a crowd. People look at me like, whoa, who's this model? Like, they're looking up at me like, I'm like, yeah, what up? I'm here. Hello down there. I love being tall, and I think it makes me more individual. Clearly I like attention. Look how much makeup I wear. I like when all eyes are on me when I walk in a room, and it's nice. I do. I like it. And if I would have gotten my wish of being small when I was younger, it would have been terrible. The other thing that I used to hate was the sound of my voice. I thought I had the ugliest voice known to man. It was like, it's nasally, it's deep, I kind of sound like a dude. I hated it. But doing these videos and hearing myself talk, it's not that bad. I mean, I had this like, I would just hear little snippets of myself like on a voicemail or something, and I'd be like, oh God, that's so embarrassing. Like, but people hear me talk every day. Like, it's a normal voice to everybody else, you know? And once I started doing these videos and hearing myself talk on the regular and like kind of hearing myself how other people hear me, I was like, okay, like I'm normal. I don't sound, I mean, it's not the most feminine voice of all time, which is fine. I just wanted to know that I was normal. Really? He wants to play fetch right now. I'm normal. And that's really good news because I didn't think I was. Okay, what number am I on? 4. Number 4. Don't ignore the things that you hate. You know, anytime I'd walk past the mirror after my shower, I would just ignore anything like below here. I didn't look at it. I hated it. I just pretended it wasn't there, and then I hurried up and threw my clothes on, and I was like, okay, let's just not even dive into that because it'll just send me spiraling. Then I started to actually look at those things that I didn't like. I looked at my belly or my muffin top or the stretch marks, my big nose, and I started to just study them and realize that they're literally just body parts. They're just body parts. They're not shameful baggage that you have to carry around and be embarrassed about. Like they're just part of your body. I mean, the parts of your body are not the whole. You know, when you put the whole picture together, when you step back and look at the whole picture, all of you together, those things aren't that bad. They're just part of you, and they make you unique. I mean, oh man, everything I'm saying I feel like sounds cliche, but it's true, because think about it. If everybody in the world looked like Kim K, she wouldn't be hot anymore. She wouldn't be like this, you know, sought after thing. And, you know, people find different things attractive. I know I don't always look at like this perfect male model and be like, oh yeah, I love that. Like a lot of times I'm just like, oh, okay. So basically, look at the whole. Don't ignore the things you hate. Just step back. Just realize they're just body parts. You don't need to tear them down. You don't need to focus on them. Focus on the whole thing together. Things you like, the things you aren't crazy about, everything together. Number 5 would be to think about the way that you think about others. People don't see the same flaws that you see. They really don't. Think about like when you get a pimple. You know, if you get a pimple here, you look in the mirror and you're like, oh my God, this thing is huge. You can like physically feel it. You can feel it sticking off your face. You're like, oh my God, you literally can't miss this. It's awful. And you just spend the whole day being embarrassed about it, when the reality is 90% of the people that you encountered that day didn't even notice. And the 10% of people that did notice looked at it for a second, was like, oh, that's a pimple, and like went about their business. I mean, if you think about when you see somebody and if you see that they have a pimple, do you spend that whole time that you're talking to that person just focused on how big and gross and ugly that pimple is? No, because you can't feel it. You can't physically feel it sticking off your face. Like you just look at it and it's like, well, all right. And then you keep going, and then after you finish the conversation, you've forgotten all about it. Like the things that you think are a huge deal to you, most people don't even notice. I know whenever I'd be like, oh, I hate the fact that I'm overweight and it makes me ugly and undesirable. But then I would look at some other bigger girls and men that were bigger than me, and I'd be like, those people are gorgeous. Even like they don't have to be skinny. They are gorgeous the way they are. They have beautiful bodies. And then I started to think, well, if that's how I feel about them, why can't people feel that way about me? You know, like maybe I'm bigger than some of my viewers or people out there, friends, and maybe they think that I'm also beautiful, even though I'm on the bigger side or a little overweight. You gotta kind of just see yourself the way other people see you. I know it's not all about the physical, obviously. There has been people that I encountered out in the world, men and women, that I initially were like, you know, back when I was like in this cycle of hating myself and judging everybody else, I'd be like, well, they're ugly, so. But then I would get to know that person, and all of a sudden they were attractive. And I was like, what's happening here? Like, they might be hilarious or like super easy to talk to or so kind. And then all of a sudden you put that personality with their body and their looks and just everything all as one package, and then they become beautiful. And I'm like, why did I initially judge them just based on like the way they look? So once you add in your personality, and if you are really beautiful and kind and caring on the inside, it kind of affects the way people see you, and then you become more beautiful to everybody else because of the way you are. So again, it's that total package that makes you beautiful, and you just got to think of it that way. So that's basically it. All I want you guys to do is to start taking some time for yourselves. Start loving yourselves right now. I'm serious. You will thank me in the long run, because once you get to that point of self-love and self-respect and the confidence that you get, you will be thanking me. I promise you. It's a good feeling. And I hope that you have somewhere to start, and I hope you start right now. Go get a mirror right now. Start writing down some things you like about yourself. That's your homework. And I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope you got something out of it. I know I got something out of it. Just writing these things down and talking about them, even if I'm just talking to myself in a screen, it helped me. It's very therapeutic. So anyway, love yourselves. And if you don't, I already love you. So there's nothing you can do about it. Until next time, mamas.